H-1B is the darling of the tech world for sure. Specialty occupation. So that's any. Hello and welcome back to Visa Vibes, your favorite place to get the lowdown on all things U.S. business immigration, one acronym at a time.
Yeah, and Emily, today we're gonna go a little old school, go back to elementary school, and we're gonna talk our ABCs, not the 1970 Jackson 5 song that's a banger, but we're gonna go through the ABCs of non-immigrant visas. Believe it or not, it's A to V. And so this episode is for anyone who has that question, where can I even start on my immigration journey? Because we get that question, and well, there's like 20 something categories you could fit in.
Yeah, and it's so funny because with business immigration, we really focus on just a very small number of the available visas, but it's good to know about all the options that might be there and whether they're actually useful or not. So we're going to hit the visa alphabet today and explain what each letter stands for and all the different categories.
Yeah, so we'll start with A. A is for A visas. This is diplomats and foreign officials. A1, A2, and A3 visas are for diplomats, government officials, and their staff. Think about this, ambassadors, embassy staff, not startup founders. So when you think about it, the paralegals or whatever that are in the embassy, the foreign embassy here in the United States.
Yeah, so not so helpful for a startup unless your startup maybe has diplomatic immunity, but probably not. So that moves us to B. B is for business. There's B1 and B2, business or pleasure. The business visa B1 is going to be for meetings, conferences, negotiating contracts, that sort of thing. Whereas a B2 is for tourism, vacation, visiting grandma, visiting family. It's also for medical reasons.
Yeah, and many people get a B1, B2 combo and they can kind of go in and depending on their intent on that trip, just don't use it for work. The B1 visa is very limited in what you can do for business. It's not employment within the US.
And it's certainly the most common visa out there. I mean, there's like hundreds of thousands issued every year.
If not millions,
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully. C is for C visas. This is a layover visa. So if you're passing through the United States en route to another country, so if you're going from, let's say, the UK to Mexico and you have a stop here in Houston, you need to have a visa to get into Houston.
Unless you're heading to the UN headquarters, then you might get a C2 visa. And there's even a C3 visa for government officials that are in transit. But D is for crew members. You'd think that'd be C.
Yeah, you think it would all get, yeah, you would think C and then.
There's got to be a way to make this alphabet match. But yeah, D is for crew members. So we're talking airline crew, cruise ship staff, anyone working on international vessels when they are docking in the US.
And here you're working because you're part of that crew, but you're not staying. So think about, these cruises that are based out of the Caribbean. Maybe they make a stop in Miami. They're going to stay on board, maybe get a little short leave, but they're not working in the U.S. E is for E visa. This is probably our first typical work visa on this list, other than the B1. But treaty traders for E1. Treaty investors for E2, and then E3 is a special one. It's a treaty with Australia, actually historically for their help with Iraq, for the military mission in Iraq. We created the E3, and it's a fraternal twin of the H-1B, specifically for Australian citizens.
Yeah, so it's the Aussie cousin of
Yes.
the H-1B. But so it's basically same requirements, but it's easier to get because there's no filing with USCIS. You can go straight to the consulate if you're outside the US. And we don't have to deal with the H-1B cap when we're dealing with an H-3. Moving on to F. F is for students. So this is the student visa used by international students to attend U.S. colleges, U.S. universities. Can even use it to attend like high school if you're at a school that issues I-20s or elementary schools.
Yeah, and then we have the F2, which is spouse and kids of F1 primary, and there is an F3 for commuter residents in Canada or Mexico. G visas are international organization staff, UN, IMF, World Bank. The G visa family, G1 through G5, covers officials and all of their staff members that are going to be working through it.
But you can't get it just because you love diplomacy.
No, I don't think Model UN works for it either.
Now, H, that's the big one. That's the bread and butter of our office for sure. This is for temporary workers. There's lots of different types of H's. H-1B is the darling of the tech world for sure. Specialty occupation. So that's any position that requires at least a bachelor's degree in a specific field of study can qualify for an H-1B. The downside is they're limited number, and so we're dealing with a lottery every year because there's not enough available. I also have problems with people converting over to a green card from an H-1B because of backlogs, and so they end up being on H-1B for years and years and years sometimes.
Yeah, and there's additional, right? There's a lot of subcategories here with H2A, which is for seasonal agricultural workers. That is not capped, but they have to go through kind of that miniature perm process before they can apply. H2B is for seasonal non-agriculture work. Think theme parks, hotels that have a high travel frequency. H4s we know for dependents. Those are kind of the most commonly used ones, but we can't forget about H1B1, which is Chilean nationals in Singapore under trade agreements. And then the H3 visa, which is kind of this not as commonly used for training purposes visa.
All right, moving on to I. I is for media and journalists. I don't know, there's got to be a word I, but
Information.
there you go. So if you are a foreign journalist or work for international media, the I visa covers you reporting when you're in the US.
J visas, a common one for certain exchange visitors, scholars, au pairs, researchers, medical grads. We see this, with international cultural exchange programs, and that's what it's designed to do. It's cultural exchange and educational exchange, and but it's not without limits.
Yeah, and it also can be interns and trainees. There's a lot that you can do with a J visa. J2 is for spouses and kids. But one thing to be aware of with J visa is depending on the program that you get your J visa under, you may be subject to a 2-year home residency requirement. So that means once you finish your J1 program, you have to leave the US and stay in your home country for 2 years before you'll be eligible to get other types of visas or like an H-1B or a green card. Now, there's some weird ways you can go to different types of visas from in the US, but H-1B is definitely problematic. And then the green card, you have to complete that home residency requirement, and your spouse and kids do too.
Right. Emily, Kate, you want to tell us about K1 visas? I think this is the one my wife most commonly knew about before I started working.
Yes, 90 Day Fiance. If you're a fan of that show, that is the K1 visa. So it is meant for people who are already engaged, for you as a US citizen to bring your fiance from outside the US into the US so that you can get married and then you can sponsor that person for the green card. Now, I do watch the show. And they kind of get it backwards a little bit because they always like come to the US and then when they're here, they decide whether they're going to get married or not. That's not really how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to already plan on getting married.
It's probably geared up for the TV. It's a little more entertaining. Like, are they going to fall in love and get married than like, hey, we know we have to get married here. But there's also K3 and K4, which are spouses and children of U.S. Citizens while they're waiting through the green card processing. Now, I'll be frank, because of how long these take, they're not as commonly used.
Oh yeah, the K3 is like worthless
Yeah.
because you can get a green card.
A
So
lot
why,
quicker.
why would you go for a short-term visa when you can get a green card doing the exact same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So going on now.
All right, we're on to L. L is for intracompany transferees. So these are for multinational companies where they have multiple offices all over the world and want to bring someone from one office into the US. L1A is for people who are coming into the US to be an executive or a manager, and L1B is for people coming into the US for a specialized knowledge capacity work.
L2 is for our dependents, and now the L2 spouses can work. We brought lawsuits, against that, considering how it's written in the Immigration and Nationality Act to, force a policy shift. So it does allow them to work.
And when you say we, you mean like you.
Us, yes, me. Like I was on that. I have my signature on that settlement agreement.
Great work there. That was a major shift that really helped out a lot of people.
Well, thank you. So M is vocational students. This is a cousin of the F1. M1 covers vocational and technical training, so mechanics, cosmetology, and that. It's not higher education, but it's education in terms of vocational training.
And M2, just like F2, is for family. M3 apparently is for border commuter vocational students. Did you know that was a thing?
Well, I didn't know this next one existed, to be honest with you, with the envy. So,
All right, N is for NATO. At least that one makes sense. So these are for NATO representatives and their staff. There's actually 7 types, NATO 1 through 7. Unless you're working under like a defense treaty or something, you probably don't need to know the ins and outs of those 7 visas.
and I feel like people who are part of that, they are getting internal support from their home country rather than an immigration law firm.
Yeah.
Truthfully. Now, going on to O visas are extraordinary ability visas. O1A is for people with extraordinary ability in science, business, and education.
And O1B is for arts and entertainment. So that's going to be your actors, your musicians, your Justin Biebers of the world, film directors.
He was Canadian.
Yep. O2 is for essential support staff, and then O3 is for family members. Moving on to P visas are for performers and athletes. So a P1A is for professional athletes. P1B is for entertainment groups. P2 is for exchange programs, and P3 is for culturally unique performers.
Yeah, and then P4 is for family members as well as, support staff, roadies, the athletic trainer maybe you travel with, and then obviously your family members.
All right, how about Q?
It exists. It is similar to the J, but it's a cultural exchange for employment. This is international showcases and very unique requirements.
This is the Disney visa.
It is,
For
yes, like Epcot.
So yeah, even Elsa and Anna, they're from Arendelle.
I wrote that in there in our show notes just to see if that was triggered it for you. With my 5-year-old daughters who watch a lot of Frozen.
Yeah, so they definitely need the Q visa in order to get into Epcot.
we met them at Epcot. R is religious workers.
Yeah, so ministers, missionaries, religious teachers all can apply for R1 visas. And the funny thing with all these is all of them pretty much use the I-129
It
form.
is, yeah.
So you'll do the I-129 for H's, L's, TNs, E's, R's, P's. It's all the same form with just these different supplements that you file depending on the type of visa.
And the R1 is kind of interesting, given some 2023 rule changes, because it has that hard max out of 5 years. And now that they've kind of redone how they count the visa bulletin, it's causing some max out issues for these religious workers. Under the R, you have R2 that covers family member, but just again, they're going to be looking into ensuring it's a bona fide familial relationship. The S visa is one of our beginning of our law enforcement type visas. There's a number of them, and this one specifically is for informants. The S5 is for criminal investigations, S6 for terrorism cases, S7 for families. But again, law enforcement purposes.
Yeah, so you're basically helping the government, and so they may then help you stay in the U.S. It can also be a path towards a green card. Then we have T visas, which are for victims of trafficking. So survivors of human trafficking who are assisting law enforcement to try to bring those people to justice can apply for a T1 visa.
And there are ways to bring, your family members in as well as a humanitarian tool. But again, these visas require you to cooperate with the local law enforcement or whoever is doing it if it's the federal side as well, and they're going to certify that you can qualify. It can lead to a green card going through the T visa, but you have to get the T visa and then wait, and then there is a green card path.
And then that leaves us with U visas, which are for crime victims. Now it's not any crime. There's actually a set list of crimes. If your crime that someone committed against you was on that list, and you're helping law enforcement, then the U visa can be an option for you. It also requires a certification by the police department or local law enforcement confirming what the charges are and how you're helping them.
Yeah, and this is something that does get scrutinized. There have been some bad actors before who, kind of set up some crimes and all that. So don't, look, this is meant for true victims of crimes. Now, it can be a stepping stone to a green card as well, but there's even backlogs in the U visa process to get the U visa itself.
Right.
It's capped. There's a backlog. They kind of treat it like the green card backlog, although they're not the nationality. They have priority dates. So you can get a bona fide determination, which gets you the work authorization, and then you're going to wait for the U visa and then wait for the green card. So it's not an instant green card by any means.
All right, and then we do have a V visa. Nobody uses it, but there is one. It is meant to reunite families. That's supposed to be faster when the green card backlog is an issue, but it really.
It's functionally obsolete. It's on the books, but it's functionally obsolete. I mean, I think humanitarian parole might be maybe like this has been discussed when a primary family member gets their green card, comes in, and they're waiting on the derivative, they could maybe do a humanitarian parole type thing.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our alphabet. The ABCs really go A through V.
And so that leaves us W, X, Y, and Z, and then they're going to have to double up. And for a while, the W visa was actually discussed. It's the visa that almost was.
Yeah, so back in 2013, that was kind of big discussion of comprehensive immigration. We are now, what, 12 years later, and still haven't done anything with comprehensive immigration reform. But one of the major provisions of that bill was a proposed visa, a W visa, kind of basically a guest worker program is what they were calling it. And this was S744. I remember doing lots of videos about that back in the day. So it was a big deal when
Yeah.
we were getting close to that.
I think this is something that continues to be discussed. Obviously, it's hard in the political climate that is, because this would be a new visa for lower skilled non-seasonal workers. We have the H2A and the H2B, but those are seasonal. What about something that is more long term, like construction, like hospitality, healthcare, landscaping, that's not just we do it 3 months out of the year kind of thing? And that's where there is a big gap in our immigration system.
Yeah, I mean, we've got these 20 some odd categories, and still there are plenty of situations and people that can't qualify
Yeah.
because the type of job that they're coming just doesn't qualify, or they don't have the correct education or background experience. So the W visa would have provided work authorization for 3 years, can be renewed for a total of 6 years. It would have had prevailing wage protections, similar to an H-1B. Employers would have had to register for it and kind of be pre-vetted to qualify. It was going to be capped, so only 20,000 available, and then with the ability to potentially scale it up to provide more visas depending on what was happening in the labor market. Family members could receive dependent visas, and then kind of similar to our 60-day grace period we have now, they were creating a 60-day. If you ended up being unemployed for more than 60 days, you'd have to leave the U.S.
And so this was designed to be a structured way to fill in gaps in the labor market with, we've got lower skilled, but it's non-seasonal visas that need to be there and help kind of aid the job market or the labor market, excuse me.
And this actually passed the Senate with bipartisan support. It was a pretty big deal, 68-32.
You're never getting that on anything
Oh,
now.
no,
You could
no.
have a bill that says the sky is blue and it won't be 68-32.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just imagine 13 years ago, things were so different
I know.
in politics. But unfortunately, the House never voted on it. So it died when that Congress ended.
Yeah, and this is, political gridlock. I mean, sometimes things are brought up towards the end of the year. Sometimes things are just not a priority to the House or that committee, that would be looking at it. And like you have your usual, sometimes your usual suspects that slow down anything.
So for now, W stands for what could have been. We're still left with this clunky seasonal worker programs like the H2A and H2B. Definitely, our current system does not meet today's workforce needs and our future needs as a country.
No, and it's part of the issue with needing Congress to kind of reform things. But I hope you guys thought today's episode was interesting. I thought it'd be a fun way to do A through V and give you a peek maybe at what could be coming in the future.
So if you like what you heard, please leave us a review, share it with your friends, send us in questions. If you have ideas for something you'd like us to talk about, please share it on our social media. We'd be happy to, do what people want to hear.
Yeah, and if you are interested in any of these visas, although not the W visa, it's not real yet, feel free to reach out to us. We're both attorneys here with Reddy Newman Brown.
Thanks for joining.